Great, thanks Ryan, thanks for the introduction. Good morning all. Sorry to be dipping in and out today. I would love to be here for much more of it, but it seems like this is a fantastic gathering of technologies and ideas. So I've got, I think, 10 minutes to give you an overview of what we're doing at Immense Simulations and how that is relevant, both in terms of application areas where some of your technologies may fit in and be useful, but also some of the things that we're building ourselves, which may be relevant to you as part of the things that you're building or the challenges you're taking on. So, as Ryan mentioned, we're the first spin-out company from Transport Systems Catapult. You're currently in our lobby. We're based actually in that room in the corner, which is at the moment full of desks. So welcome, and we're really glad to be sharing a bit of what we're doing. So we use the tagline of enabling intelligent mobility. A lot of the reason we're here and we've created the company the way we have is to try and start accelerating the application of some of these tools and technologies to support new generations of mobility systems and mobility services. So we're fundamentally quite applied in what we're trying to do, but working with and using a lot of the technologies that people are developing. We're supported in part by an Innovate UK programme, where we're working explicitly with gaming tech. So we're working with Improbable, a company that built a platform for simulating big virtual worlds called Spatial OS. We also work closely with Cubic, who are a major transportation infrastructure provider and run the Oyster card system, amongst other things. This project's been running for about 9 months now. It kicked off last summer. It's going really well. I'll show you some bits of it in a moment. But it's looking at using these technologies to run cities and transport infrastructure use cases, and then be able to test out alternative futures. So not data analytics looking backwards, but what if scenario analysis based on a live updating model. So the way we look at it is that we're trying to provide detail, but at scale. So the details about how individual services operate or travellers behave, but at a scale that means you can look at a city like London or run the whole of the UK strategic road network within one environment. We're trying to consolidate the insights that you get from running across multiple use cases at the same time and using the same tools, and then update that continuously using live data feeds and using updates. So some of the challenges I've seen on the boards around for this afternoon are really squarely where we run into problems all the time. So we'd be glad to share experience and try and solve them jointly if we can. And the business model overall is moving towards simulation as a service. So it's making these tools much more readily available so that you can get the benefit in a much wider range of use cases. It's always easier to show people a video to explain it. So this is something that a few of you may have seen before. We've put Milton Keynes at the heart of the world, which I'm sure is entirely appropriate. And this is just illustrating how we use some of the data sets and how this is evolving quite rapidly at the moment. So traditionally we do transport modelling based on census data feeds. So these are static, large area aggregations of workplaces and home locations. We can buy static maps now down at building level and down at quite detailed disaggregations. This is actually a top level view of different people types, population groups. So synthetic, not real people, but representative. So we use that to understand demand. Then we can get data about supply state. So that's a Google Roads feed. This is an ETOWorld GTFS data set around public transport, both schedules and now real time, so delays and so on. From those sets and like them, and others like them, we can build up a really good live picture of how a system is operating. So if we use that to run the simulation, we can then nest cases within it. So here we're looking at actually you might have seen the pods running around on trial today. This is looking at a taxi scenario, 2 competing fleets, hot spots of demand popping up, and the purple fleet responding to those hot spots and preempting where it should put its vehicles, and consistently winning more of the market, so getting a greater share of the available revenue and the available trips. So for the same number of resources, making more money. This is looking at some other types of fleets. So here we've got electric scooters and pods, autonomous pods, linking into the rail network. So looking at how demand patterns at the stations, and particularly in the suburban outlying stations, can interface really well with some of these more flexible fleets. It's traditionally very hard to run a profitable bus service in a low density area. We may be able to do that much better with on-demand services and taxis and pods. But to do that, you want to integrate well with the rest of the transit system. This is the sort of octopus diagram, I guess. Where on the left you've got data feeds, so we bring in data from all different sorts of sources, build them into this platform, simulation environment, and then have services of different types running off that common platform. So for mobility services themselves, vehicle fleet operators, maintenance systems and services, logistics and delivery, that's somewhere we work with channel partners to address, event planning and management, and then actually more traditional infrastructure planning and management. So what if you put an extra lane on the motorway or whatever else? So to summarise some of the key features of what we're trying to build and the things that we run into all the time, we're trying to do this at scale. So there are big issues around compute and scaling that and making it viable economically. It's data driven. We need a lot of data relationships. We need to manage that data, QA it very carefully. It's about integrating all of these different components, and it's about providing a persistent resource that you can sell services from. The last point is probably particularly important, is that a lot of these processes don't work unless you have a collaborative business model, and that's very much how we're set up to operate as things stand. And a good example of that is some proof of concept work we've been doing with Highways England and the Transport Systems Catapult over the last couple of months, where with the consortium partners, the challenge was, can you simulate the whole of the strategic road network in one environment in 8 weeks? Go. So it's 6 weeks in, and we have a simulation of the whole of the environment running. And okay, so it's minimum viable product version. There are a lot of features that we would wish to add over time, but as a technical proof point, this can be done. Configuring that to address the right use cases is something we're working closely with the partners to do. And we're excited about building follow-ups to that and looking at how that can integrate with other assets that people have. There's been a lot of work in the BIM community to digitize 3D environments. Fantastic. This is all based in Unity, fundamentally. So if you've got things that can go into that environment, brilliant. We can look at how we can import them, find the right ways of using them to add value to the system as a whole. So the three points I wanted to end with, if I can. This is what we're doing, but they live in virtual environments. And so a lot of the barriers and challenges around building 3D worlds also are relevant for 2D worlds, and understanding where the 3D and 2D adds benefit or not is really important. There's themes around integrating to data and existing knowledge and existing assets. While that's improved a lot, and the UK is one of the leaders in this globally, it's still a big challenge getting that to work reliably and programmatically. So there are barriers to overcome, both technical and commercial. We feel we're making really good headway with some of them, but we want to work with people to do better at some of the others, because we're not going to be able to do everything. Some contact details. Really glad to get in touch or to see where some of this leads to useful collaborative work. Thank you.